Source Nation. Join us now for Family Mix Mondays with licensed professional counselor Jaketra Bryant. Tune in as Jaketra shows the different dynamics that make up family. Whether you represent the nuclear family, single parent, extended, grandparent, or blended family, Jaketra has tips and advice designed to strengthen your family structure. Source Nation, here is your host, Jaketra Bryant.
Well, good evening, Source Nation. Welcome to SRN Live Television. I am your host, Jaketra Bryant, and this is Family Mix Mondays. We are continuing our series of foster families, and oh my goodness, this has been such a delight. And so I've gained so much knowledge just from my guests and just from the things I've read, and it just is not stopping here. You're going to love tonight. I know it. I'm excited about all of our guests, and especially tonight. This one is very dear. And before going any further, I want to stop and thank our sponsors, Zjane Health and Wellness, Revolution Meals, Meet My Types Matchmaking, New Covenant of Praise Worship Center, Urban Grandstand Digital, and Blend to Blend, Juice Bar Boutique, who's made this show possible. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And Source Nation, if you would like to advertise on our television network, contact Kathy B at Kathy Lynn, that's with a K, KATHYLYNN 1971 at gmail.com, or Tracy Jeffcoat, that's one word, Tracy, TRECIE JEFFCOAT at gmail.com. And if any advertising purpose that you would like to get into. And so I want to read a couple of stats that I looked up and found that I thought were so important for tonight's topic. I just was like blown away by the information that I was able to see. I was doing a lot of reading with foster care. And as you know, I've kind of said it before that I did a little bit of work with group homes before I got my master's in counseling. And so I was able to see that people often bounce from home to home and just kind of really getting a taste of the fact that like the kids kind of go from home to home, and by the time they get to a foster home, or by the time they get to like a group home or an adopted family, there is so much that has happened with the kid, and it's a lot of adjustment in. So I definitely want to encourage people, as I'm just kind of looking at some stats, to really just get involved and read a lot more when it comes to really taking a closer look at foster care. So foster care, this is from Foster Care Close-Up. It says of the 402,378 U.S. children in foster care now, it's estimated that 101,840 are eligible for adoption. And so look at that great number, actually, y'all. Like, could you imagine? This is in the United States. This is almost 2/3 of these eligible children will eventually be adopted into forever families. 2/3 is actually not a very high number. So this says that there's a lot of kids that probably stay in foster homes and maybe possibly go from home to home. It says, but many others will never find a permanent home. Everybody agrees that the fewer moves a child has to make, the better. But the reality is that too many children bounce from one foster home to another, from one placement to placement, all the while wishing one place where they can put down roots. It's heart-wrenching that these children, considered damaged goods because of their ill-omened starts in life, become the victims of overburdened systems. And about 20,000 18 to 21-year-olds age out of the system every year and find themselves alone in society. And so alone in society is incarcerated. Alone in society is unemployed. Alone in society is homelessness. Alone in society is they are not expected to finish school. And so this just goes on and on about the harm in when a person is not able to be adopted and stay inside of a foster home. And so I have a guest tonight. I have several guests tonight, but the one particular one is going to come on first is Coach Leanna Carter. And so before she joins me, I just want to read some stuff about her. And says Leona is the best-selling author of Because I Said So, equipping and inspiring mothers to be intentional about the words they speak. As the founder and chief of executive officer of Carter Strategies and creator of the Because I Said So coaching program, Leona helps mothers who are successful in their profession translate their success to motherhood. Married for 22 years, Leona and her high school sweetheart, Omar, have 6 children and 3 foster children. Leona and her family moved from Seattle, Washington to Kalamazoo, Michigan for the tuition-based program called the Kalamazoo Promise, where her family was featured in the New York Times. And so I do believe we have Leona Carter with us this evening. So hello, Leona. Thank you so much for being a part of SRN Television. So how are you?
Good. Hello, everybody. Hey, party people.
Good. Hello.
Tell us information about you. Well, I live in the city of Kalamazoo here in Michigan. My family and I are originally from Seattle, Washington. And so we moved here 11 years ago. And, I'm involved in my community. I have 6 children. 3 are almost 3 are graduated. 3 are still in the home. And so just living the life of cold weather in Michigan. It's kind of springtime right now. So we're, getting over the cold, enjoying some sunshine now.
Yes. And so again, thank you so much for just being a part of the series of foster families. And so I know that it's definitely going to be just so much information that we're able to share to everyone. So I want to ask, how long
I've actually been a foster parent for almost 16 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We actually started in Seattle, Washington, and now I'm here in Michigan. I just carried it over from one state to another here in Michigan.
Yes. Do you find the process different from state to state?
Some of the things are different, but believe it or not, the same foster care curriculum that Seattle used, Michigan also uses. And so when I did my license transfer, I was actually grandfathered in right here in Michigan, and I didn't have to do everything over because it was the same curriculum. So that was really, really cool, but I know it's not like that in all states.
Yeah. That's interesting. And so I was thinking a couple of some of the standards with age and I guess just mainly the requirements. And so I was wondering what were some of the reasons you got into foster family and fostering children that might some of the people who are thinking about it get involved.
Well, one of the first things I can tell you is you do not have to be a perfect parent to be a foster parent. However you are right now, however you keep up your house, whatever places you go is perfect for a child that doesn't do any of those things. So you do not have to be perfect. You don't have to, you don't have to be married, myths about what is required to be a foster parent. And so really, for me, in high school, I actually seen my best friend's parents foster. And I would see, more kids come to their home, a couple of the...
Well, good evening, Source Nation. Welcome to SRN Live Television. I am your host, Jaketra Bryant, and this is Family Mix Mondays. We are continuing our series of foster families, and oh my goodness, this has been such a delight. And so I've gained so much knowledge just from my guests and just from the things I've read, and it just is not stopping here. You're gonna love tonight. I know it. I'm excited about all of our guests, and especially tonight. This one is very dear. And so before going any further, I want to stop and thank our sponsors, Zulina Health and Wellness, Revolution Meals, Meet My Types Matchmaking, New Covenant of Praise Worship Center, Urban Grandstand Digital, and Blend to Blend, Juice Bar Boutique. who's made this show possible. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And Source Nation, if you would like to advertise on our television network, contact Kathy B at Kathy Lynn, that's with a K, KathyLynn 1971 at gmail.com, or Tracy Jeffcoat, that's one word, Tracy, TRECIE JEFFCOAT, at gmail.com. And if any advertising purpose that you would like to get into. And so I want to read a couple of stats that I looked up and found that I thought were so important for tonight's topic. I just was like blown away by the information that I was able to see. So I was doing a lot of reading with foster care. And as you know, I've kind of said it before that I did a little bit of work with group homes before I got my master's in counseling. And so I was able to see that people often bounce from home to home and what it looks like, and just kind of really getting a taste of the fact that like the kids kind of go from home to home. And by the time they get to a foster home, or by the time they get to like a group home or an adopted family, there is so much that has happened with the kid, and it's a lot of adjustment in. So I definitely want to encourage people, as I'm just kind of looking at some stats, to really just get involved and read a lot more when it comes to really taking a closer look at foster care. So foster care, this is from Foster Care Close-Up. It says of the 402,378 U.S. children in foster care now, it's estimated that 101,840 are eligible for adoption. And so look at that great number, actually, y'all. Like, could you imagine? This is in the United States. It says almost 2/3 of these eligible children will eventually be adopted into forever families. 2/3 is actually not a very high number. So this says that there's a lot of kids that probably stay in foster homes and maybe possibly go from home to home. It says, but many others will never find a permanent home. Everybody agrees that the fewer moves a child has to make, the better. But the reality is that too many children bounce from one foster home to another, from one placement to placement, all the while wishing one place where they can put down roots. It's heart-wrenching that these children, considered damaged goods because of their ill-omened starts in life, become the victims of overburdened systems. And about 20,000 18 to 21-year-olds age out of the system every year and find themselves alone in society. And so alone in society is incarcerated. Alone in society is unemployed. Alone in society is homelessness. Alone in society is they are not expected to finish school. And so this just goes on and on about the harm in when a person is not able to continue on, to be adopted and stay inside of a foster home. And so I have a guest tonight. I have several guests tonight, but the one particular one is going to come on first is Coach Leona Carter. And so before she joins me, I just want to read some stuff about her. And says, Leona is the best-selling author of Because I Said So, equipping and inspiring mothers to be intentional about the words they speak. As the founder and chief executive officer of Carter Strategies and creator of the Because I Said So coaching program, Leona helps mothers who are successful in their profession translate their success to motherhood. Married for 22 years, Leona and her high school sweetheart, Omar, have 6 children and 3 foster children. Leona and her family moved from Seattle, Washington to Kalamazoo, Michigan for the tuition-based program called the Kalamazoo Promise, where her family was featured in the New York Times. And so I do believe we have Leona Carter with us this evening. So hello, Leona, and thank you so much for being a part of SRN Television. How are you?
Good. Hello, everybody. Hey, party people.
Why don't you tell Source Nation a little bit more about you and any new things that you have going on?
Well, I live in the city of Kalamazoo here in Michigan. My family and I are originally from Seattle, Washington. And so we moved here 11 years ago. And, I'm involved in my community. I have 6 children. 3 are, almost 3 are graduated, 3 are still in the home. And so just living the life of cold weather in Michigan. It's kind of springtime right now. So we're, getting over the cold, enjoying some sunshine now.
Yes. So let's get started. And I'm just so eager to just hear more about you and the things you have going on. And so, how long have you been a foster parent?
I've actually been a foster parent for almost 16 years now.
Oh, wow.
I actually started in Seattle, Washington, and now I'm here in Michigan. I just carried it over from one state to another here in Michigan.
Do you find the process different from state to state?
Some of the things are different, but believe it or not, the same foster care curriculum that Seattle used, Michigan also uses. And so when I did my license transfer, I was actually grandfathered in right here in Michigan, and I didn't have to do everything over because it was the same curriculum. So that was really, really cool, but I know it's not like that in all states.
Yeah. What were some of the reasons that you got into foster care that may help some of the people that might be thinking about making this decision?
Well, one of the first things I can tell you is you do not have to be a perfect parent to be a foster parent. However you are right now, however you keep up your house, whatever places you go is perfect for a child that doesn't do any of those things. So you do not have to be perfect. You don't have to be married. Myths about what is required to be a foster parent. And so really, for me, in high school, I actually seen my best friend's parents foster. And I would see, more kids come to their home. A couple of the siblings were in my wedding. One was a biological daughter of theirs. One was a foster daughter and eventually adopted daughter of theirs. And when I seen this family do that, I said, I'm going to do that. And this was when I was 16 years old. And so when I saw that family do that, I said, one day that's going to be me. And I loved, what they had to offer. They don't have a mansion. They don't have $100,000 in the bank. You don't need any of that to be a good foster parent. So they start right where they were. And I did the exact same thing.
Oh, I love that.
It is a lot of variables with foster care. And so you do have to be open and flexible, but there's a lot of support with foster care. My agency, very supportive. So you figure out what it is that you need and you let your caseworker know, and they're able to really wrap you around with services, so that you can provide the home. And I've done just that.
Oh, good. Like you currently have 2 foster children in your home.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And so with the different children that you've had throughout the years and the ones that you currently have that have been in your home for years, did you do something to prepare your children that you already currently have inside the home for adjusting them in with the newer set of foster children?
Because I have 6 kids, okay, so we had to have a family meeting, literally, Monday at 6 o'clock, everybody in the living room, because I have adult children, I have, children in college, and I think it was during spring break where I was able to really sit down and talk to everyone. And so, most of my kids, or actually all of my kids, know that I've, done foster care before. And so they're familiar with, we got to clean our home. The caseworkers are coming to check everybody's room, every nook and cranny. So, clean up your underwears off the floor because the caseworker is coming in to check, So, talking with my family, we organized where the foster children were going to go. I have girls in my home. I have boys in my home. And the girls and boys have to be matched up with a foster girl and a foster boy. So we organized whose room that was going to be. And so really had discussion and preparation before we welcome the little ones into our home.
Oh, wow. It's so great to have a conversation with your family to prepare them So let's speak about the requirements for those who may be interested in fostering children, but are still unsure about what is needed for such as like housing, if they need apartments, sleeping arrangements, if you're a single parent and if it's okay. Like, so could you speak about those particular requirements that are needed if you are indeed that person that's interested in fostering a family?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So if you have a house or an apartment, you can foster. And so, what they're really looking for is cleanliness and safety. It doesn't mean you have to be a neat freak, because I'm not a neat freak. My house is not spick and span with all these bodies running around, but safety is a concern. And so if you have a room that you can provide with a bed, and the child has to have their own dresser or closet to put their clothes in, and they can't share a room with the opposite sex. So if you have a little boy, you can't have a little girl in that room, and vice versa. And so, just making sure that, your front door opens and it has a lock on it, making sure your windows has screens on it. If you have a guardrail going in and up, up and down your front door, make sure the guardrail is, safe and is not broke, and, make sure your cleaners are up high. And so the requirements that, that are required by each state, an apartment can fulfill those requirements just as much as a mansion. So, or anything in between. So just really safety is the concern. So if you have 15 cats in your house and you have bleach and cleaners all on the floor, well, you're going to raise some red flags, And so it's really about, safety in the home. Just imagine a 1-year-old kid grabbing everything in sight. Will they be safe if they grab something? So that's the kind of concept you want to kind of keep in mind when you are, preparing your home.
That's good. So that helps, like, a lot of people know that even if you are a single person in an apartment, it's about safety. And given why it's about safety, I mean, we're talking about young children who are under the age of 18 if you're inside of the foster care system. And then you want them to be safe. And so they come from all different types of backgrounds that probably were not safe, or just whatever the situation may be. So that's something that may even cause a person to do better with their own regular living. To look into something like that.
Because the reality is, a lot of children come from homes with no safety plan in place, no rules, no regulations, no boundaries.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the home, anything goes. I mean, they come, go, there's no, chore list, there's no sense of structure. And so when they come into your home, you're setting those boundaries and structures in place. And so having things put up is really, that's why safety is such an important thing, because a lot of kids, anything in sight, they grab, because that's what they're used to doing in their home. So it's not like they're disrespecting your home, they're doing like they've always done. Right. And so they're going to grab. And so having your home, fortified, childproof is really, really important until they learn those safety measures. And then, when they get tall enough to reach things, they'll say, you can teach, you don't do that. This is what we do. This is what's allowed. This is what's not. But until you get those things in place, everything needs to be way up high.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Again, I think it's just something that's going to help us all. Because even if you're preparing for a child of your own, these are some things that you will begin to think about. And I think, like, it just forces you to think about this in terms of a foster child, that they are indeed children that you're welcoming into your family, into your home, that this person does for however amount of months or years becomes your own family member.
So true, so true. And then, you take the foster child and you mold them right into your regular routines, So some of them have not experienced what family looks like. And of course, what that looks like is different for each home. And so whatever your family usually do, if you go to soccer every Monday, this is what we do on Mondays. When you're sitting down at the dinner table, this is how we sit at a dinner table. Every moment, every part of your family is a teaching moment, because you can't assume children know how to sit at a dinner table. You can't assume they know manners, please and thank you. It's like you're really, you're a teacher and you're starting from scratch, and you can't assume they know what anything is, put that in there so we can wash the dishes, put it on that side of the sink. They might not even know what that means. I mean, it's a lot of things that we take for granted and assume it's automatically taught. And boy, I'm telling you, it's not. And so, a lot of the simple things foster children enjoys. I remember one of my foster sons, we were cooking for Thanksgiving, and everybody had a food that they were cooking. And so he was in charge of stirring the cornbread, and all he did was stirring the cornbread, and that was just life-changing for him. Oh, wow. Because when it was at the dinner table and there's all the cornbread that everybody's eating, he said, well, I made these. And it was just such a special moment for him, And so everything is appreciated because a lot of things have not been experienced. And so, you don't have to take them to Disneyland every year. You don't have to fly them to California. I mean, I'm talking simple stuff, simple things in your community, going to the library, just things that they've never experienced, believe it or not.
That's awesome. Like I really, oh man, that is, I just was just thinking of even just it kind of brings me back to like what I was thinking about before with blending the children in and what that looks like. And so as I was just preparing and looking at some stuff, I just kept thinking of like this marriage and how a person, if you're dating someone, they come with one set of kids and you come with your set of kids, but you all have had your own different experiences and your own structure or lack thereof, or whatever your background looked like. And how does that look when you're trying to come together, and how it is a teaching moment. It's communication constantly. And so like for parents who are already parents, but would love to get involved, what were some things that you did to kind of blend that family? You talked about with the Thanksgiving, but what as far as the children being able to bond together and getting in a routine, what were some things that you did that you found very helpful with blending the siblings in and them into the family unit?
One of the things that's really helpful in that process, and especially for me, is, all 6 of my children have chores. There's a chore list of everybody's chore that night. And so guess what? We have 2 more new people that can help with chores. And even though it's little, it's about consistency, being part of the family, and routine. And so generally what I do, like right now, I have a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old. And so there's something that they can do. There's something for everyone. And so I usually take one of my children and partner them with one of the foster children and say, you're going to help this person clean the kitchen. And so my child knows to give them something that they can do. And so same with the other child, I'll partner them with another child and be like, you 2 are in charge of, the living room. Everybody has a part, and they see like, wow, he's doing it and I'm doing it. And they totally feel a part. It's not like, well, you sit here because you don't know how to clean. You don't know what we normally do. There's none of that. I'm talking day one. Everybody gets to help with chores.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Oh my goodness, I love that. I need to let my son partner with somebody. We don't even have any foster children in the home, but he needs to pick up on even that. That's a good skill to pick up on. I love that. I think that's a really great idea with that. And so what's the time frame that children are often that they might stay at the homes? Is this something that a person will know in advance to have a conversation with their children about as they're transitioning in?
The time frame definitely varies. And so we might get a call from the caseworker that we have a child that is long term, and we don't know how long that is. And so, as a foster parent, you have to kind of keep in mind, you think 12 months. I mean, when you think long term, you think at least 12 months. And so you're thinking, can our family host them for 12 months? And then sometimes it's longer. And so, but by the time you know that you can take on 12 months, if you can take on 12 months and everything's going well, you can probably do longer. As the increment of time extends, it's easier. But sometimes it's just 30 days. I've had very short time because I was a transition house between coming into foster care and being adopted. And so I've had children just for 30 days, and it's been communicated that they already have a adoptive home, and we just need someone for 30 days. But because this is life, that could very well change as well. So it's like constant communication for your family and the caseworker to know, okay, it looks like it's going to be another 6 months. Can you still provide care for this child? And so it's an ongoing communication. But when they say long term, you think a year, because sometimes the biological parents, they think they can get it together in 90 days. But the reality is not many move that quickly. And so because of other personal barriers that get in their way. So you're just really being conscious of, if this child is in my home, can I do long term? And if you can do long term, it's welcome, or a good thought to kind of think about.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I imagine it's just a big transition for everyone there, and especially the children, because if you're the transition between sometimes, then is that a process that a person can sign up for? Like if they're interested in fostering, but they're not quite sure what does this look like for a year from now, could they sign up for, are there different sections to sign up for?
There is. And so there is something called respite care. And respite care is that temporary short-term care. So I'm considered a long-term home. And so children that come in my home, I'm prepared for that year or longer if need be. Homes that are respite. And so sometimes it's 24 hours, sometimes it's just a weekend, or 30 days, really short term. And if for some reason the child is in there and that weekend actually needs to turn into a year because of one reason or another, then that foster parent, and the caseworker would transition that child into a long-term home. Okay. And so it is nice because you can use to get an idea of, do I want to do this? Is this something I can do? I mean, you can learn a lot and get a good grasp of it even in a weekend, because, a lot of these children have such a high need capacity. I mean, because they've never had the affection or they've never had the consistency. And so in a weekend, you'll know if you're cut out for it, for real.
Yeah. Man, it just seems like it seems like a lot for a person, but it sounds like, I think one big picture is to make sure you have this caring heart where your heart says, you know what, I'm prepared. And maybe we'll learn something from each other with this process of it. And there is a desire to serve and to really provide this sense of structure and family for a child or children. Mm-hmm. And so I was wondering a lot of things, but I was wondering also about when's the right time to discuss with your other children about, I guess when you first, since you've been a foster care home for a foster parent for quite some time in other states, when you decided that this is something you wanted to do, of course, I know you probably had the conversation with your husband, but is it a good idea to have a conversation with your children about like, hey, I'm thinking of doing this, and kind of getting the whole family's input about what this process is and any questions?
Yes, absolutely, because your own children may not even know what foster care is. I mean, it's not common knowledge to everyone. And so, really having a conversation with your children about what that is, and it doesn't matter what age. So, you have age appropriate conversation with your child. So, what you say to a 2-year-old is obviously going to be very different than what you say to a 12-year-old, but you have some kind of conversation. Very similar to mom being pregnant. You know, mommy's having a baby. Yeah, you have, and that, you know, that mom would have that age appropriate conversation. You're going to have a little brother or sister, you know, same kind of concept. So you definitely want to have some conversation with your child, and, you know, giving them an idea of what foster care, why the other children would be in the home. And it could be a while, it could be, you know, whatever is age appropriate for that child, but definitely let them know. And I would, you know, the younger they are, I would have the conversation closer to the time of the children coming, because, you know, abstract, some the young children can't grasp abstract time, you know what I mean? Like one day. So, you know,
Right.
having that
Correct.
conversation, like continuing all the way, you know, maybe a week, maybe, you know, today is Monday, and, you know, next Monday, a foster child is coming. And so throughout that whole week, have that conversation that leads up to the child coming in the home. You know, as they're older, they can understand the time frame a little bit better.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I have a niece and she's as cute as she wants to be, but that time frame is just like it's poor it's like
Yeah,
all over.
everything's today or yesterday or tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And so it's just like, well, I did this, like did I eat dinner today? It's like, what? They really do. They get really lost about time. So I think that's a really good
Right.
idea. And before we bring like the two kids on, I wanted to know about any resources and organizations that you use to just assist you with learning more about fostering a family, what to expect, just anything that you found as a helpful to transition and just you as the parent in.
Okay, you know what? That's a good question, because, you know, it's really interesting, because what you do for your own child might not be allowed for foster care.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean it's wrong. It doesn't mean it's the best way. It just means through protocol and regulations, there's a reason they have to do it a certain way. So really, like if you're taking on a baby under the age of 2 years old, doing, you know, online studies, or even let your caseworker know, and they do usually provide that information of what's appropriate for a crib and how to sleep in a crib and the rules and regulation for children 2 and under. Because when you had your little cute bundle of joy, you probably had the little stuffed animal and the little, you know, crib bumpers and all of that cute stuff when you had your baby. But guess what? Cute or not, it's not allowed in foster care. And so, really learning what those rules are. And then another big one is, you know, discipline. You know, how you discipline your little cute Johnny is going to be very different than how you discipline, you know, foster children. And so, you know, definitely take classes on discipline, or, you know, crib, you know, safe sleep. I mean, there's a host of things on the web, and your foster care agency has, you know, all those resources and information. And I would definitely brush your skills up, because, you know, you might have been a parent for 50 years. You know, your child might be grown on their own and gone and have their own family. And so you need to know the rules are what they are, because they're just different things you don't even think about. Like, why does my window have to have a screen on it? We just lift it up and get fresh breeze. Well, it's a safety thing that it has to have a screen on it. And so just different things, you know, what's allowed in the crib. You mean I can't have anything? I mean, this, I'm passing this teddy bear down to my children and passing it to her. Well, little Susie can't have the teddy bear in her crib. Just so many different things. So definitely Google and use your agency as a resource for information.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. I think that's something, like you said, a lot of parents might be like, okay, I've done this before. I've raised 11 kids. Like, I could do this. And I think that's a really important thing. And I think maybe it'll help a lot of parents who are re-inviting children to their homes and they have kids to actually to take a look at some of the ways that we did things anyway, and why, and in things we might have didn't see as a threat or harm or a safety measure. And so I think if anything, if people go into it with open hearts, I think we can all see benefit in it the whole time.
Oh yeah.
So before we bring Zjane and Emmanuel on, before I read their bios, I wanted to hear also one last question about what has been something that you find has been just a joy to just doing this process and being able to open up your heart and home to children.
You know what really brings, in foster care, there's some good days and there's some bad days. Okay. So, but the rewarding of it all is really when you teach this, these children structure, how to use manners, please and thank you, how to knock on doors before they just barge in, how to, have, how to put their shoes in their backpack up where they belong, come in the door, just different life skills, like the 4-year-old is going to learn some life skills that they're able to use it in middle school and, ongoing. And so it's really rewarding to see that, because, when you see that before and after, they would jump on your couch and run up and down hall with, no sense of direction, but then now seeing how they've changed and evolved. And so when you transition to their parent is going to notice the difference. They're going to see how well their vocabulary has changed. They're going to notice their child has been benefited from your home. And so to see that before and after, it's very rewarding. And in my home, I'm Miss Leona, and they'll never forget Miss Leona and Mr. Omar, in our home. And so it's rewarding. But what's really cool is when you see the child years later. I've had a 10-year-old that I had when she was 5. She found me on Facebook and she messaged me, and one day she called me on Mother's Day and said, Happy Mother's Day. Aww. And so the time, I know, right? The time they are in your home is not going to be forgotten. And so every moment is critical and crucial and will be cherished for years to come.
Now that's touching. That is. And I agree, because it's nothing more than to see like your seed come to harvest.
Right.
I think sometimes, I think even in real life, like when we're like working and just like, what am I doing all this work for? What am I saving all this money for? What am I correcting all these kids for? But it's harvest. There are things later that we get to see. And so I think that's, and so,
awesome.
Oh man, well, thank you. So Leona's going to grab the kids, and I'm just going to read y'all some things about the 2 kids. So we have Zjane Carter, who's an 11-year-old student in the 6th grade. She enjoys playing basketball and spending time with her family. Academically, she enjoys computer science, coding, and learning how to develop apps. Oh my goodness, I'm impressed. And then we have Emmanuel, who's 17. He's a junior in high school. He enjoys visual, musical, and digital art. Emmanuel's goals is to enroll into Kendall College of Art and Design in Grand Rapids, Michigan. He is a percussionist in the Kalamazoo Central Marching Band. And so we have the kids, they are here. Well, we have a teenager and then almost a tween, so I'm not even gonna say kids. And so, but hi guys, I'm Jaketra, how are you?
We're good.
Okay, so I have questions for like both of you. And so you can both answer it if you feel comfortable, or if one of you want to be like, oh, she'll take it or he'll take it, totally fine with me, okay?
Okay.
All right. So first, I wanted to know: did y'all want to tell Source Nation, because we're live on like YouTube as well as like with the radio? Did y'all want to tell them more about y'all or some new things y'all have going on at school that you want them to know more about?
Finals are coming up, so that's fun. And then it's going to be summer break pretty soon. So, yeah.
Yeah.
We're still having testing and good grades for me.
So I've been talking to Miss Leona, and we've been talking about like just foster families. I've been doing a series on just foster families and getting more people involved so they won't have this negative thought about what it means for people to come into their homes, that it's a transition and it's new to y'all as well. And so I wanted to talk about that. So what was your understanding of what foster families meant? Did y'all have an understanding of that?
Yeah, for me, it meant that kids or teenagers coming into our home for fostering or for us to care for them, to provide help or caring for them while they're in our home.
For me, I feel like a foster home is like a safe haven, a place where like adults, parents like open up their house for kids to come in just in a time of need for a short or long period. It doesn't really matter. And it's just like a place where they could be.
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like y'all had somewhat of an understanding from it. So were you able to get this understanding from maybe other foster homes that you have been to, or how did you come to understand what this means?
For me, I was little. I was younger when I was in a foster home, so I don't really remember. So how I came to understand was from different kids coming in and out and me witnessing how they've been treated here over many years.
Yeah.
For me, I was also kind of the same. I was young, but me and my brother, we were the first set of kids that were adopted. So I got to see her come in and then so on and so forth, everybody else. So I was actually adopted when I was 3 years old, and she was adopted around 1.5. So
Okay.
it's a little blurry, but yeah.
Yeah. So y'all have been with the Carters for quite some time now.
Yeah.
So y'all are Carters. Y'all are Carters. Well, that's good. Maybe like since this has been something that you transitioned in, and you've also, Miss Leona was telling me that y'all also have other foster kids that come in there. So, what things have you done to just make sure that they understand that this is scary, but you understand them?
For me, I always looked up to like my older siblings, so I know they're probably looking up to like me. So I try to like set an example. I be careful about like how I word stuff and what I say and what I do, because I know 5 seconds later they'll repeat whatever I say or they'll do whatever I do. So I try to make sure everything is for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do the same, setting the example for them so that they know exactly what to do, so that if they're doing what I'm doing, they'll be doing the right thing, and setting an example in any place as in like a dinner table or while we're playing at the park, using your manners or not running off like anywhere we're at.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I'm so impressed with you two and just this transition. And so what kind of advice would you give someone? It's their first time coming to the home. Maybe they're scared. They don't know you, they don't know the other kids, they don't know your family. What advice would you give? Say a little girl, Zjane, and what advice, Emmanuel, would you give a little boy coming in?
For me, a little girl, well, if they are scared, I would say that they don't need to feel scared, that we will welcome them with care and love, and that they should feel comfortable here no matter where they're at.
I feel like everything new is scary, but it only takes time to like break down those barriers and get comfortable in the living space that you're in. Everything isn't going to happen all at once. So you just have to take your time, get to know your guardians, get to know your surroundings, and then you can actually grow and be more comfortable in your living space.
Yeah, I'm so impressed, y'all. That's probably my phrase. I just keep saying. I realize that I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed. So I promise I have a larger vocabulary. But so when it comes to being a foster child that's now adopted, are you comfortable with having conversations in your schools or in your neighborhoods about that you are a foster child or were and now are adopted? And then if so, like how do you have that conversation so that other children that may be in the same area can feel just as comfortable?
Well, me and my older sister, we are about 6 months apart. So whenever I tell people that, they're like, how is that possible? Right. And then like, oh, I'm adopted. And nobody believes me. They're like, you can't be
Yeah.
adopted. I've known you all my life. You're not adopted. I was like, yeah, I actually am adopted. And it's like so hard to believe for people, but I'm like, I always tell them, oh, well, I was adopted. Like I was young when I was adopted. So you grew up with me all your life, but before then.
Sometimes for me, people mostly guess that I'm adopted sometimes when they see that my dad is picking me up because he's way more light skinned than me. So people are like, "Oh, were you adopted or something?" I'm like, "Yeah, but that's not why. That doesn't show anything." But then I had to explain to them, like he said, how I was adopted when I was young and how everything went on from there.
Yeah. Are there things that you did to kind of reach this place of feeling really comfortable with being like, yes, but that does not mean that's not my dad. That's not mean that's not my mom. Did y'all
A lot of times people ask me like, "Hey, do you want to like find your real parents when you grow up?" Like all this other like crazy stuff. I always tell them I'm like the parents I have right now are my real parents. They're the parents I've known all my life. So I'm perfectly content with the parents I have right now.
Yeah, and the same for me. When people ask me that, I'm just saying I'm fine here and I'm fine doing what I'm doing right now. And I'm fine thinking about the parents I have right now.
That's so cute. I love that. I love that. Miss Liana was talking to me about, I guess y'all would call her mom and dad. She was talking to me about like a lot of the things and the chores and bringing more kids in. And so when it comes to the transitions and helping those other kids feel a part of the family and things, what are some things that y'all do as the big sister or the big brother with like just making the other kids that come through the home that may not stay as long as you do feel a part? Do y'all have your own kind of sibling type of games or like talk?
Well, like a lot of the times, what I kind of do, if I'm like one on one with a sibling, it's like my little secret. But I'll like tell them, "You're my favorite," and I'll just like share with them and everything like that. But then I'll go to the next sibling, I'm like, "You're my favorite," and then I'll share with them and everything like. So they only know it's like one on one in each
Yeah.
environment. So it feels like a special connection in between them, just one me and them in each environment.
Well, for me, like my mom said before, she said as they're helping with chores, they do feel important. And so when maybe they're picking up trash off the floor, I'm like, yeah, you pick up that piece of trash and you'll be helping me out a lot. They're like, okay, and they run, they go pick it up and throw it in the trash and they start clapping for themselves and say, I did it, or something. So that they do feel special.
That is cute. That's cute. I was wondering with this series of month, like this month, I'm not sure if y'all know, but probably so, is National like Foster Care Month. And so there are so many kids who are still in homes, excuse me, not in homes, but in group homes or maybe still in the system that have not been inside foster homes. What's one piece of information that you would want to share with some of the parents who are thinking about bringing some kids into their homes? What can help? What do you think would help them to make up their mind to know that this is a really good idea?
I feel like some good advice for parents that are questioning would probably be the future, because you actually have a chance to bring in a child that may or may not have had a traumatic experience you have, and opportunity to bring them in your life and heal them and mend them and actually build on their character and help them through what is a hard time and what is all new to them and which is probably scary.
Parents will probably think, oh, I don't want to do this because it'll be too hard and I'm not ready for all this work, and that I should probably have a child of my own before I take in another one. But as I've witnessed, it's not going to be that hard, even if you don't have a child of your own, because you learn from this experience. If you do take in a foster child that's young, you can learn from this experience that after that you would have a child of your own, and you could see the differences or the similarities that you do for your own child and for a foster child.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Like this has been so like you guys, I'm so glad that they suggested like to make sure that y'all come on and have just some comments. So what about to that child? What advice would you give to that child? And man, you said it best. Like it's a scary thing and you're gonna feel some feelings about it. Did you think that there are some helpful maybe groups that you joined or some helpful books or conversations that Miss Leona and Mr. Omar had with y'all that help that maybe some kids also too can do those same things?
Well, there's like a lot of stuff that we do as a family. So we're all like included. We all do stuff the same. We all go to church every Sunday. So we bring everybody with us and we we always used to, when I was a kid, everybody would get in their bed and all of our rooms were all next to each other. So my dad, he would sit down and he would read a book until we all fell asleep. And that's like how one way he would all like have that little bonding time at night right before we went to sleep. And it was really nice because all one big family. And it was like nobody felt left out, nobody felt excluded, and we all had a little piece of togetherness. Yeah.
And also the family meetings that my mom would call, where every single person in the family, all 8 of us, would come into the living room and talk about things that need to be addressed so that no one is left out of the conversation. We all know what's going to happen and when it's going to happen so that we're all included and we all feel important.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Ah, man. So I guess as we prepare to close, when you guys get older, are you thinking about being foster parents to some loving kids too?
Me personally, um, if I want to have kids, I would probably adopt because the experience I had and I was blessed to be in a nice, welcoming family. I would probably want to give that same opportunity to somebody else later on in life.
Get it. Totally get it.
Well, for me, I do want to be a foster parent because I've seen the impact it's made on people's lives. Like mom was saying, the little 5-year-old she had before grew up to be a 10-year-old in college. I want to have the same impact on other people's lives as well.
Yeah, man, you two are, I'm so like, man, I just really just hope that like this has been a blessing to me. And I hope that the people that like tune in now or later tune back in will get more information and won't be scared anymore. And National Adoption Month is coming up in November. So I hope we like shoot the numbers through the roof where we're having some parents and some people get involved. And so, okay, good. So we got all three here. So Leona, I know I just thought about the question of transitioning with when a person has the parent involved. How do you kind of have that conversation so that if it's not moving toward adoption like Emmanuel and Zjane did, being able to have that bond stay there and still have these nice seeds of love and structure being planted? How do you make that process happen?
You know what? I have a level of communication with the foster kids at all times. So right now, so like for my current placement, our conversation is, and the bio mom, I do have a relationship with her, a civil relationship with her, and she knows I say this too. So right now, mom's house is not ready yet. And so that's the conversation that, that I have with the kids, nope, mama's house, she said, is not ready yet, but soon as it's ready, then you'll go with mom. And so if later down the road I have to change that conversation, I will. But right now, reunification is the goal. And so right now, mama's house is not ready yet, but soon as it is, then you'll get to go back with mama. But if I have to change that conversation, I will. So I just keep a simple mode of conversation with them until it's time to change the conversation or to continue it in the fact of, guess what? Mama's house is ready now. And so it's time to go back to mama's house.
I think that's a really good idea. And so it kind of goes back to the very early on conversation you and I had about like just the preparation even for the parents who are going to come in for foster. And so I just want to thank you three. Oh my goodness, this has been such a great conversation to have and with Foster Care Month and we just need to raise more awareness and I definitely will have you all on for November. So I really, really hope you're all available and you'll be in the next grade level. And so will Emmanuel be in college by then? And be able to
he won't. I'll have another daughter who will be in college by then, but by then it'll be his senior year.
Okay. So good. Well, I'll still make sure to bring you on November. It's National Adoption Month. And so I think some positive stories that we need to spread so more people can, again, get involved. And so, Leona, tell Source Nation where we can find you and any follow-up questions and get more involved and just doing a lot of the stuff that you're doing.
Not a problem. So I do want to let you know you can find more information about me at leonacarter.com. And so by going on there, I actually want to give you a free gift. And so when you go to leonacarter.com, scroll way down to the bottom, and there's a free checklist of 10 intentional approaches great moms do. And so put your first name and email, and within 24 hours, you'll get a free checklist. And so I'll do that for you. And then I also want to, and so it'll be for the listeners that are hearing this information. If they don't hear it, they won't get it. But I also want to give you a free copy of my bestseller, Because I Said So, Equipping and Inspiring Mothers to Be Intentional About the Words They Speak. And so the way you do that is also go on to leonacarter.com and just message me on Contact Me and just say, hey, Leona, I heard about you on the show, and I would love to get a copy of your free book. And I will mail one to you. And so, as we're closing out, I want to admonish people who are thinking about foster care, start the foster care orientation in your city so that you can really gauge. I mean, just because you do the orientation doesn't mean you're 100% committed, but it's a great way to hear the information and get an idea. If you have a partner or a spouse, just say, maybe we can just take step one. And if after that orientation, you're like, no way, Jose, then you have the option to back out. But at least, contact your local organization and sign up for, the orientation is generally free. And just learn about foster care because there's so many children. I mean, I can't adopt them all, but I will if I could. But there's so many children that need a good home.
Yeah. So, Leona, tell us again about your book option, the free book option, and what they need to do for that.
Absolutely. So again, 2 free things I'm giving away tonight. Go to leonacarter.com and it's spelled LeonaCarter.com, and you can grab 10 intentional approaches great moms do. So scroll to the bottom and then to me on my website and let me know you heard about the free copy of my book, and I'll be happy to mail that to you.
Yes. I thank you so much again just for being a part. This has been so, oh my goodness. I wish my son was here listening to your children. And if anything, he'll probably be like, yes, we need some of those in our houses. I can see my little Christian saying something like that. And so before we
thank you so much.
Yes, I definitely will have you in November. So please, please stay in touch. And so before we head out, I just want to thank our sponsors, Zulina Health and Wellness and Fitness, Paper to Film Productions, Meet My Types Matchmaking, Revolution Meals, Renovations, New Covenant Praise Worship Center. And Source Nation, if you would like to advertise on our television network, contact Kathy B at Kathy Lynn 1971. That's with a K. KATHYLYNN 1971 at gmail.com, or Tracy Jeffcoat, that's TRECIEJEFFCOAT at gmail.com. And so, Source Nation, this has been a pleasure. And so tune back in next week as I close my series of fostering families, and join me next week with Source Radio Network. I'm Jaketra Bryant, your host.
Get at me for beats, y'all.